Abhijit, what about you? How would you approach Tata Steel this morning?
Hi, good morning, Samina. Well, Tata Steel has done fairly well over the last 4 days, moved into a short-term uptrend. The medium-term trend, which saw a sell-off from the highs of close to 750, came down all the way down to that 550, 560 zone. That needs to improve a little bit more. So I'm not very overly bullish on the stock right now, mainly because of the fact that it needs to deal with overhead resistance in the zone of 635, 640. That's where the recent 2-day highs are. From a very short-term point of view, keeping in mind that the market has been fairly volatile over the last two days, Tata Steel, from a risk-reward point of view, I'll probably wait out a little bit. If it manages to sustain about that 640 mark, the medium-term trend definitely improves. There's no doubt about it. On the downside, 600 plays as a very good psychological support. But from a trading point of view, I think the risk-reward ratio is not favoring because the overhead resistance is right above the 640 mark. So I'll wait and watch.
Abhijit, you want to comment on the Nifty as well? What's your trade on the index for the day?
Well, Samina, Nifty too, looks a little tricky at the current juncture because what we saw was a pretty high degree of choppiness over the last 2 days. The index almost teased the psychological 11K mark, but could not touch it, came down sharply. And where we are right now is kind of a make or break. The possibility of break is there if it slips below yesterday's low, and for the Nifty spot, it is close to that 10,720. We'll take it a round number of 10,700. There's a chance that it can, slip down further towards the 10,650, 10,600 mark from a very short-term point of view. On the upside, it needs to actually sustain above 10,850. There is a high close to that 11K mark, but 10,850 above that, it needs to, probably post a weekly close. It needs to bounce back and prove a point that the trend is still intact very quickly. If it fails to do so, and if yesterday's low is breached, then there are chances that we can have a short-term correction in our hands, which can lead to a little serious correction as well. But it's too early to comment on that. First and foremost is whether we manage to save 10,700 on the downside.
But I do have a couple of other stocks I want to talk about. Abhijit, come in on HEG as well as Graphite India. I was talking to a couple of analysts yesterday. Above 3,500, they're saying it's a big breakout on an HEG, and now the stock has legs to cross 4,000 and even 4,500 in the near term. Would you agree with that view? What's the trend that you're noticing on HEG and Graphite India as well? Because both of these stocks usually move in tandem.
Well, HEG, the trend is your friend. In this case, exceptionally strong trend across all time frames. Very difficult to predict and figure out a target for a chart like this because every time you find out a target, it actually breaches that and hits a new high. Is it possible to enter the stock at this price? From a risk-reward point of view, no, because it has moved sharply up and the immediate lows are quite, lower and close to the 3K mark. If you have HEG, makes sense to ride the trend as much as possible. In this kind of a chart, indicators do get overbought and they stay overbought. Any opportunity to buy would be if you get a short-term dip in the tune of 5 to 8% for sure. Graphite, on the other hand, is in an uptrend, but it has been consolidating for a couple of months now, and it is on the verge of a breakout. The breakout comes about that 795, 800 zone. So one can take a call at Graphite at the current juncture, expecting that the breakout will come and it will sustain further on the upside. The best case for Graphite is the fact that it has a strong trend to support it. So there's a possible trade on Graphite at the current juncture for sure, but not in HEG, where in both the stocks, the good thing is the trend is exceptionally strong.
What are you doing with banks, Abhijit? Bank Nifty to begin with, 26,200. It is struggling at these levels. I think it's protecting, or rather trying to prevent a fall or resisting selling pressure. At 26,000, in fact, at the day's high point, nearly 26,250 now on Bank Nifty. Would you go long?
Well, Samina, Bank Nifty, I think I'll pass it a little bit. I'll wait and watch because one thing, Bank Nifty did exceptionally well and we had a strong uptrend from the levels of close to the 24,750. It rallied all the way up and it teased close to that 27,000 on the upside, just like the Nifty did a couple of days back. a short-term correction is healthy because that gives the indicators a chance to dip below that overbought zone. That gives a chance for short-term traders also to buy at a lower levels where the risk-reward ratio is actually much better than the higher levels. So I see this correction as a healthy sign. As long as the psychological 26,000 holds on the downside, I sense that the Bank Nifty will try to push itself on the upside. The only caveat is the fact that it's just a handful of stocks which is helping this index. Stocks like HDFC Bank, which has the highest weightage, is definitely doing its part. The PSU banks are still under the shadows and are in a strong downtrend across all time frames. So it's only selected few private sector banks who's playing out. And once they are overheated and they try to settle down, you will find that the Bank Nifty itself is also cooling off a bit. At this juncture, I'll wait and watch, but at lower levels, I'll be definitely a buyer of Bank Nifty.